Hey everybody, what's going on? The Montreal Canadiens are coming off a tough stretch of play, and there's plenty to dive into in this video, particularly on defense. But before we do that, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. It's in the bottom right-hand corner of this video. The Montreal Canadiens are in an interesting spot with where they're at in terms of their defense right now and moving forward into the future. In terms of veterans, you're looking at David Savard, you're looking at Mike Matheson, and it's hard to see at least one of Savard or Matheson being around for when this team does eventually turn the corner from the rebuild. I would particularly say that David Savard is as good as gone in the next 16 to 18 months. And I think that's a very generous assumption going on with what we're doing with this Montreal Canadiens team right now. Matheson at least has some sort of value, and that's not to say that Savard doesn't. You know what he can bring to the table in a hard, grueling playoff series like he did with the Tampa Bay Lightning back in the day. But Matheson provides that new age puck moving defenseman that can skate like the wind and really make an impact on a game. Sure, he does have some defensive blunders every now and then, but he can run a power play and do so successfully. And he's one of the main reasons why this Montreal Canadiens power play has been successful as it has as of late. Of course, the young talent like Suzuki, Caulfield, and Slavkovsky play a difference in that, but Matheson is that power play quarterback at the top of the defensive unit. And I think that's important just to factor in where this team is heading into the future because there's going to be a logjam on defense one day, and that day is coming sooner rather than later with the likes of Jaden Struble, Jordan Harris, Logan Mailloux, Caden Gooley, David Reinbacher, Lane Hudson. The list goes on and on and on. And there's only so many spots that can be had on defense. I think last night was very telling because Jaden Struble went down with an injury, and it looked as though it was a non-contact injury, which isn't typically good news. That typically means he's going to be out for a long period of time, whether that's a torn ACL or Achilles. I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to speculate on that, but it didn't look very good for Struble. So that's something that they're going to have to monitor moving forward. We should have an update on that later today or at least sometime this weekend. But still, as of right now, there's going to be a logjam on defense for the Montreal Canadiens. And that's an area that they have to take advantage of before some of these players' value plummets. It's not realistic for all of these players to hit their ceilings, and the Montreal Canadiens have to be wise in terms of which players they move out to try and bulk up their forward core up front. I'm not going to go out and predict how that's going to play out because too many of these names have yet to play a game in the NHL. But I think you're going to see Lane Hudson and Logan Mailloux be a staple on defense for the Montreal Canadiens moving forward. Not to say that they don't come without their flaws, but it looks as though they have the profile to be able to be a difference maker at the next level. Mailloux is having a tremendous rookie season for the Laval Rocket, and you're starting to see what he's capable of in terms of his NHL ceiling. I believe he can be a strong second pairing defenseman, assuming you pair him with a strong shutdown defenseman, someone in the mold of a Caden Gooley. I think that Lane Hudson is someone in that similar profile. Of course, they have two different, very different body types when you factor in that Hudson is a lot smaller, but Hudson also has that dynamic element to his game. He can make players miss. Look no further than how Scott Wheeler graded him as the Habs' number one prospect in the Montreal Canadiens organization on his athletic prospect rankings, where the Montreal Canadiens were ranked 10th in the NHL. I think there's a lot to be excited about when it comes to the Montreal Canadiens defense in the future, but there's going to be some names that have to go out, and it wouldn't surprise me if the likes of a Jordan Harris or a Jonathan Kovacevic are the two names that just don't really fit into what the Montreal Canadiens are trying to do here on the back end. I think Jordan Harris can be a useful NHL defenseman. The same goes for Kovacevic, but I do believe that Harris is the least valuable of the bunch in terms of what he can bring in the long term and what you can expect in terms of a ceiling or a role. With Harris, you don't really know what he excels at as a defender. There are some strong traits to his game, but he doesn't really do one thing exceptionally well. And maybe that's to his detriment because there are a lot of good to his game, but it just doesn't, he's not a defender that's really going to stand out in terms of someone that you're going to want to have in terms of the bottom six for your defense. I do believe that he can be someone that can be an NHLer, and I think he's shown that so far in his career. But there's just not enough pop to his game that makes me think he's going to be a long term fixture on this Montreal Canadiens blue line. That's it for me today from Cook's Corner. As always, let me know in the comment section down below what your thoughts are about the future of the Montreal Canadiens on defense and which names you believe will be the odd man out. I'm Zach Cook. We'll see you later.